Forget the movie myths. Today, we're diving straight into the true story of the ancient world's most brilliant, cutthroat, absolute mastermind. I will not be led in a triumph. Those are her exact defiant words. Picture this. She's staring down the barrel of the entire Roman Empire, and she doesn't blink. Completely fearless. Section 1. The Ultimate Power Player. To really grasp the insane, high-stakes game she was born into, we have to talk about this number, 6,000. That is the mind-boggling amount of talents her father paid Rome in bribes just to keep his throne. Guys, that's roughly Egypt's entire annual tax revenue. Just gone. That's the incredibly volatile reality she inherited. But this next number, this tells you exactly who she was. 1. Out of a Greek dynasty that ruled Egypt for literally 3 centuries, she was the number 1, as in the only Ptolemaic ruler who actually bothered to learn the native Egyptian language. She completely embedded herself into the fabric of her nation to lock down her power. Section 2. Mind of a mastermind. So we really need to drop this idea of her as just some simple seductress. Her true weapon was a terrifyingly sharp intellect. I mean, her resume is unbelievable. She was educated in Greek philosophy, she was a published medical author, a fluent linguist, and she literally commanded warships. She was a genius tactician who went toe-to-toe with Rome's absolute best military minds. The historical reality is honestly so much more intimidating than the pop culture rumors. She wasn't just a romantic figure. She was a Macedonian Greek absolute lawgiver. She held an iron grip on the massive agricultural wealth of the Nile, and let me tell you, every single move she made was brutally calculated to protect that leverage. But you know what's crazy? We actually have a surviving papyrus that brings this untouchable titan right down to earth. Even this highly educated genius made a mistake. She wrote the Greek word gynnisthoi, which means make it happen, with a blatant grammatical error, adding an entirely unnecessary letter at the end. It's honestly just such a strikingly human detail in a life of absolute power. Section 3. Mastering the Roman Titans. Okay, so those legendary relationships with Caesar and Antony, not star-crossed romances. They were cold-blooded, calculated geopolitical alliances. Just look at this timeline. It's like a ticking clock. Pompey gets assassinated in 48 BC. The very next year, she aligns with Caesar to lift a siege on her own palace. Then, the second Caesar is assassinated, she pivots instantly to Mark Antony. She's navigating Rome's deadly civil wars with just lethal precision. And then she pulls off what has to be one of the most audacious power grabs in all of ancient history, the donations of Alexandria. She essentially manipulates Mark Antony into giving away massive Roman-controlled territories directly to her own kids. It was a total masterstroke for her legacy, but it was also the exact move that absolutely enraged Octavian, setting the stage for an all-out world war. Section 4. The Absolute Monarch. Now, while she was busy outsmarting Rome, she was thriving at home as a literal living goddess. She was the sole lawgiver, the chief religious authority for both the Egyptian and Greek faiths. She's overseeing the construction of massive temples and synagogues, and she was the very first female Ptolemy to issue coins with her own face on them. She micromanaged this incredibly complex, multicultural society with total, unquestioned authority. And we've got to talk about her look, because you can toss the Hollywood version out the window. Historical footnotes actually suggest she was a flame-haired redhead. And for day-to-day administration, she ditched those heavy ceremonial wigs for what they called a melon hairdo, basically just pulling her natural hair back into a tight, practical bun so she could get straight to the ruthless business of running an empire. Section 5. The Final Defiance. Every single second of her reign was building to this. The clock finally runs out after the disastrous Battle of Actium. It's 30 BC, Octavian's forces invade, and she is cornered inside the Alexandria palace. The tension here is unreal. A spy leaks Octavian's true plan to her. He's promising to keep her alive, sure, but only so he can parade her in chains through Rome as a trophy. Realizing the game is officially over, Cleopatra absolutely refuses to be a pawn. She prepares her final exit. And here is the shocking historical twist. Forget the dramatic bite from a smuggled snake. Ancient sources like Plutarch suggest it was actually a calculated, quiet poisoning, using a lethal hairpin to puncture her skin. There's no way she was going to let Rome take the credit. She executed her ultimate defiance quietly, brutally, and 100% on her own terms. The aftermath is incredibly swift and tragic. Octavian violently ties up all the loose ends. He executes her eldest son, Caesarion, famously declaring that it's just not good to have too many Caesars. With that, Rome officially absorbs Egypt, permanently wiping out a 300-year Hellenistic era that literally began with Alexander the Great. Which leaves us with this incredible, provocative thought from philosopher Blaise Pascal. If Cleopatra's features, her intellect, and her sheer undeniable force of will hadn't been exactly what they were to captivate the most powerful men in Rome, would the entire aspect of the world have been altered? If this single, brilliant mastermind hadn't delayed the Roman Empire, how different would our world look today? Think about that, and keep questioning everything you think you know about history.